Greetings, my fellow guitarists and/or interested parties. Congratulations on making it this far. Right now I have the Creedence Clearwater Revival song stuck in my head, and I wonder who stopped the rain. Who'll stop the rain? Currently, being just about 5 o'clock in the afternoon here on the Pacific, the weather has changed and the gloom has been cast yet again over the Pacific Northwest, and it is raining, and my mood has gone from, hey, let's go, to more like, yeah, man, I'm not feeling it. And so today we're going to take a minor break, but there is an update, and I think I'd at least like to share that with you. So, like I said in my last video at the end of it, I was going to continue applying finish, and that was about it. So today, the only thing that I've done is I've gone out to the garage and I have grabbed the finished body and I brought it back inside, and I went ahead and I paired it up with the neck. And so now we're going to get a good shot of what this thing is going to look like when it's done. And I have to say, I'm extremely happy with it. So, all in all, it purty. And we could be finished with it today, and that would be really, really cool. But like I said, I'm just not feeling it. So instead, I think what I'm going to do is give a cooking tutorial. Who wants to learn how to make musubi? Great, I'm glad you all are coming with me on this. See you in the kitchen. Ha ha, that's a joke. No, I might actually do one of those if anybody has any interest in it. But I mean, look, I make this stuff like once a week. I love it. It's great. And you can make about 9 of them for about the same cost as one at L&L. So, I'm frugal. I've said it before. And that's enough food for me for like 2 days. So, all is well. So what we are going to go ahead and do is I'm going to just go ahead and apply a little bit of wax to the fretboard. Now, let me talk a little bit about this. So, the first wax that I ever used for fretboard finishes, I've taken from the idea of, well, I'll back up. So the necks on Music Man guitars, like the Lukather and whatnot, I think are some of the nicest feeling necks I've ever felt. When I first played the Lukather one, I was like, what did they finish this with? And they just said it's a hand-rubbed oil and wax finish. And I'm like, okay, so I pursued it a little bit, gunstock oil. All right, so that led to the True Oil thing, which I still hate the name of just because, they can't spell. And it's an implication that they're the only true oil, and it's got their devotees, just like the guitarists that are, I've said it before, guitarists are stupid. They follow all sorts of things like, I'll take the watch argument to a higher degree, unless it's an antiquated, like an original timepiece, unless it's a sundial, it's not a real watch. My Casio works better, sorry. Actually, my cell phone works better. So it's the ultimate pocket watch. And I haven't worn a watch since I've started using cell phones. But at any rate, so getting on with it, this wonderful stuff, this gunstock wax, which I still have some. It's mostly hard, but still have some. This is pretty good. This will cost you about $8. I have found a formulation of something that's very similar, but it's got orange oil, so it's got some cleaning properties to it. Feed and wax. This stuff will cost you about $8, and you get this much more. So there's my frugality coming out. Anyway, it has a marvelous effect. It works very well on just about anything you put it on. I like this after I apply regular finishing wax. I like to clean my necks using this. So if you ever get a Kirkyard guitar and you're wondering, well, what do I do to clean it? This. Just use this. This will work with the bodies. This will work with the necks. Now, if you work with a painted body, Kirkyard, that's not going to work so well. So don't do that. You can use polish, whatever it is that you would normally use on anything else, and guitar-wise, and it'll work just fine. The necks, still use this. So one of the other things that I could mention is, the string cleaner I mentioned yesterday, aluminum wheel cleaner, works great. And also, if you have an open pore finish, don't use wax on the body. Don't use this wax, don't use any other wax. Damp, for those of you, Jeremy and Kyle, who already, I know, have them and are watching this, that's all you need to do to finish it is a little bit of distilled water or like Aquafina or something like that that doesn't have any salts in it. And go ahead and just kind of wipe it down. Just damp cloth with it. Don't just, no. Damp cloth, wipe it down. And really all you're needing to do is dust it. You play with clean hands and you really won't need to clean a whole lot. So that's that. Anyway, going on with it. There's something else kind of funny I realized. The one thing that I don't have on hand to finish this instrument is the strap buttons. I thought I did. No, I don't. So I just ordered some today, and they probably won't be here until the weekend, maybe even Monday. So even if the guitar is playing, even if I'm playing the guitar, it's not going to be done. It'll be close, but it's not done. I'll still have the strap buttons. Like I said, I play mostly sitting down anyway, so it's not a thing. All right, so maybe we should at least try and do something. See you in a little bit. Yo. So I've got Texas Toast talking in the background. Just go ahead and pause that. I can speak to a couple of things. I have no intent at all of becoming a guitar building channel. In fact, I was just commenting to the wife a few minutes ago that the thing that I like the least about building, I've talked about the things that I like the most and some of the things that I like the least about building this guitar is, or any guitar for that matter. I like doing the fretwork, I like doing the soldering, I like doing the shaping aspects, like with rasps and saws, real visceral work. The exacting work, like with the routing, and especially with the routing for this guy, is unnerving and is work that I would rather not do if given the choice. But any of the shaping stuffs where you really get in with your hands and you're manipulating the wood to set just so and fit just right and all that stuff. Man, I dig that. That's where it's at for me. It's an expression of artistry, and that's how I feel most connected at that time. But much like the whole Survivor Man thing, filming it, I think I hate the most. So this is kind of, it was intended in the first place to be a one-off. Where I just kind of record the process involved in doing this. But by no means am I going to be doing any more of these. This is it. I'm good. That's enough for me. Thank you. I'm okay. But you see that black hardware just starting to kind of making a thing. So I wasn't lying earlier. I'm not feeling it today. I'm really not. I think the rain. The fact that Western Washington generally right now has taken on the aspect of Forks, Washington, for you Twilight people out there, and is getting more rain, I think, than it's pretty much ever got. I mean, I've seen it rain here where it's been recorded precipitation for 3 months straight. This year, it's just relentless. You'll get a couple of days that are nice and it's still overcast. You'll get a couple of days, and humid, but still overcast and clouds, lots of clouds. We haven't had any real sunny days at all this year. I mean, we've had a sunny day, and there were still clouds in the sky, and it's a sunny day. And it was still kind of cool outside, but it was almost 70. You could almost feel like, hey, it feels good. You talk to some people, and it's like, it says it's 85. It's not even close to 85. It's almost 70 if it's a thing. These are people that have been trapped inside behind a cash register anyway, so don't give them much credit there. Well, anyway, going on with the show or story or what am, I don't much care for the what is that dihydrogen monoxide continually precipitating from the sky. It's just man, this stuff is dragging me down. Maybe I had to take a cue from my friend Joel in Splitsville down to Arizona, where it gets exactly the opposite amount of rain days that we do. So they apparently in Phoenix it's like 280 days of sun or clear skies. Either way, it's pretty much sun. And here you get 280 days of clouds and or precipitation. So this year seems to be like more than that, like by a substantial margin. But yeah, the gloom is taking its toll, and I don't want to go back and forth to the garage. Anyway, let's do something. So I'm going to put some wax on the neck here, the back of it, and we are also going to go ahead and I don't know, maybe do the fret job, but for sure we are going to go ahead and line our really enormous cavity here. And yet, Jeremy, if you're watching, I'm thinking that I'm occupying some of your nights. This guitar weighs about half as much as yours. Sorry, I didn't, hey, the neck wood's make an awful lot of impact there, and apparently the body wood in general was a little lighter it's the same wood, but the other end of the board than the one that you got. Also, I took out just a little bit more wood out of here, about a 1/4 inch more at the bottom there, and about 1/8 of an inch more at the bottom here. So we got about a 1/4 inch of wood left on the bottom there. So real easy to bust through. Anyway, so let's go ahead and turn this around. Let's talk about some superstitions. Depending on what wood you use. Now, let's talk about a different thing. So, superstitions. Depending on, largely, the finish that you use. For instance, this is completely dried. It's completely cured. The deft finish. How do you know when something is cured as far as like the lacquer is concerned? Can you smell it? No, not really. Not at all, really. I smell this. I don't smell that. So this is, it's done. It's ready. It's cured. It's good. And it actually has been good, but it spent the night out in the garage, but it's been good since probably about 9 o'clock last night. And it's been okay, but I just kind of let it, hang out and do its thing. But it's good. It's ready to go. Some people think if you use, this kind of finish that I've done, you got to leave it for at least a month, maybe 3. No, you don't. This stuff takes longer to actually cure. The combination of oils that I put in my true oil, I'll just call it Kirk's oil. Even though I got the recipe somewhat from Big D, it's still, I didn't stick to it. It's still got my proprietaries. Anyway, the issue is, this stuff takes longer to cure than that does. You can still wax it. Yeah, you can. Actually, I want to use the other wax first, but this has still kind of got a little bit of a velvety feel to it. Just letting you know that it exists there as a kind of a velvety feel. That would still be the oils curing. It's not completely cured, like I said before. But we can still put a little wax on it. And it's not going to affect it. It'll be fine. I've done this before. It's okay. And I think here you can see a bit more of the asymmetries. Slightly asymmetric. It's closer to symmetry down here. Yeah. So it's just a little thicker down here than up there. Like so. Kind of rolls down. Now, I will say this. Especially with this being done. You can tell where the grain changes are in feel. Just a subtle impression. Because, grain sands differently. Different grains sand differently. Some grains, and this... I used to do that part professionally. I know how to sand wood. Really, that's kind of my thing. But at any rate, the thing about that is, this wood is a little different than most of the woods I've ever used. This is new for me. But the grain here, and here, and here, and here, sands remarkably differently. So you can feel a little bit of like, there we go. That's either slightly elevated or depressed. I can't tell. It doesn't feel bad. It doesn't feel like I haven't done a professional job. No, nothing like that. It doesn't feel bad. It feels like a neck I would still buy, and that's the whole point to it. But I do want to. Listen to my English. I just wanted to point that out, that it is different. It's a strange thing where, I pay attention to this kind of stuff, but it's still there. And it wasn't, at least it didn't feel like it was really there yesterday when I was initially doing it. But it's something that you can feel after the finish is there, or finish is applied. So that's pretty much it. You just kind of rub it in until it stops rubbing in. Yeehaw. Feels like lightning. Good times. I am not going to wax this part yet. So that is not being waxed, nor is this. I write on this. We can wax afterwards. Use a paint marker just to denote what it is and when it was finished and all that stuff. The number. I don't really have serial numbers. I started to do that a long time ago, and I gave it up. I'm a real small-time manufacturer, man. I mean, I just kind of build. This is like I said, it's kind of an expression of artistry. It's just what I do. I don't do it to pay the bills. These pay for themselves, and that's pretty much it. The rest of it is, it's just the joy of creation. So, I mean, I write music. It's a joy of creation. I make these things. It's a joy of creation. There's nothing I would change about that. Yeah, anyway. So I was talking yesterday about Fender, and I want to get kind of specific about a few things. Everything he chose for a reason, but that doesn't make it the most perfect thing ever. Sorry. It just doesn't. Otherwise, like I said, with modern technology and moving along with the watch analogy and all that, what we would have today is, and they're still building them in much the same way. They've even changed the machines, for God's sakes, that they use to make these things in the way that they were made before. And so, I mean, come on, man. It's like making a Model A or a vintage watch on modern machinery just to get that feel, man, because it's got to be exactly the same. I've said it before, and I'm a guitarist. I've got to say it. Bass players have it all over us with the acceptance of ergonomics and new technology and shapes and things. We guitar players are stupid. We have got to get with the program and understand that at the time he was innovating and being creative, other people do that too. We are still able to do this and to shun all that try new things because it's not a Fender. You dumb motherfucker. Come on, man. I mean, and I'm going to use the stupid Joe Biden argument. Come on, man. Because if you're going to say it about anything, say it about those guitar players who are the absolute purists and refuse to just kind of accept that sometimes improvement can happen with time and abuse of the things. So, all right, classical guitars. Here's one. That isn't even a really good one. That's a Fender FC10 from 1976, my first guitar ever. And I've refretted it. There's been repairs. It's scratched up. It's got a sticker on the headstock that my great aunt, who gave me the guitar for as long as I play, I can keep it, and I'm still playing, so there it is. She put that cute little sticker on it. Anyway, look, the classical guitar is based on a design that has been around effectively for almost 500 years. It's really hard to come up with innovations to really make it a quantifiably better product in sound, which is subjective, and playability, which is subjective. But there are ways of being able to do it. Like, look, it's got a flat radius. There's no radius. And so somebody who says, oh, your chords are more comfortable with a regular radius. All right, explain that to the classical guitarists who are playing chords far beyond the standard blues 1-4-5. Sorry, that wins. Every time that wins. Better classical is over here, is my Hernandez. But anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and turn this into a rant session because, like I said, I'm just not feeling it today. This whole rain thing has got me down. So, look, I might mess with the pick guard. In fact, I'm feeling that. I want to mess with the pick guard and just have that done because everything else is kind of, once that's finished, everything else is just kind of like fiddly bits, fret job and making the nut, and, positioning the bridge, and then getting everything, just kind of putting it together. At that point, I'll have all the separate pieces, and I just need to put it together, and then it's done. At that point, it feels almost like, not kidding here, it feels like you're just taking an enormous shit and you're flushing it. So that's the downhill. It's like, we're done. You know, at that point, it just feels like that. For me, it's almost like a self-constructing organism at that point. It's like, ooh, I got this kit and I can build it. Well, I already built all the components, and now I just put it all together. It's great. So yeah, no, let's just continue on with some rants about Fender and some of the problems with it. For one, Fender doesn't do anything about the headstocks not being, they just, it's a mass-produced thing. Yes, a headstock is stronger when it's straight, and that's the way they make them. But they also put in, for many years, a stringer back here, and have a curved truss rod that's not even double action, single action. They never had a volute, which would strengthen the headstocks. Theirs really didn't break because of its current design, and that's good and all, but this actually feels really nice. So gives your hand someplace to stop. It's a lovely thing. Volutes are an art in and unto themselves. Let's see, it was Spurzl that came up with staggered tuners. And that was something I think maybe based on some I don't know about this for sure, but some Kluson stuff. But that helped with the tuning. It got rid of the idea of string trees. You don't need a string tree if your guitar is designed properly. A tilt back headstock, if it's not too great, is not posing a break risk. It's the volute basically renders that not going to happen anyway. But so you have a volute and a slightly tilted back headstock, you're going to get your degrees of string break from the nut down to the tuners necessary to keep everything nice and happy and, in tune and, all that kind of stuff. Straight string pull, yeah, he had that. That's great. That was a big boost over what Gibson was doing and other manufacturers were doing at the time, including Gretsch. Still, I mean, I've got a lot to say about it, obviously, but nevertheless, this is harder to make. So that's why they didn't do that at the time. It would cost more money. They basically just made a commodity parts guitar. Something that they did get right is the bolt-on neck. I know a lot of purists who think neck through body, resonance. No. A competently constructed, a good, well-made neck joint like this is going to give you just as much sustain as a neck through body. I guarantee it. And it's adjustable. Not only that, you can swap it out. Try swapping out a neck to a neck through body guitar. It's much harder to do. Oh, look, my neck broke. This won't. But if it did, I could make another one and put it on there. Done. It's just some things need to be made or should be made well, of course, but with component parts. Having the neck the same as the body, look, I know it's kind of a thing of beauty and artistry, and I can't deny that as an expression of, artistry, like I was saying. But, I appreciate the workmanship and craftsmanship that goes into it. Sure, great, it's great. But how will you replace the neck if something goes terribly wrong? Bah! It drives me nuts. Also, hello there. Let's talk a little bit about, what's this? Oh, that's a thing. Okay. We could talk a little bit about like bridges. I don't like string through body bridges. Some people, it increases the sustain. No, it doesn't. It doesn't at all. I can't help but think that a lot of people have been bamboozled into thinking that it does such a thing when it doesn't. You can have the strings affixed anywhere. I could affix the strings to something over here and it's still going to have. The only thing that matters with that is how well connected your neck is to the body, the nut material, and the saddle material. That's it, really. As long as it's, like I said, as long as this is together and everything is really affixed nicely to the body, your sustain is determined by these two things. That's it! Well, and, there's some argument about if your pickups are really, really close, so the magnetic field is going to interfere with the ringing of the string and how high your action is and stuff like that. Okay, those arguments aside, these are the only two things that matter. Once your string is cut here to here, this is all that is really resonating. Everything else you kind of want to mute. If you're recording you're going to see guitar players have like a little bit of styrofoam or something like that underneath the strings just to keep the resonance. They're going to ring a little bit just because of harmonic resonance, stuff like that. But they're it's something you don't want. You don't want the extra string parts, to ring. It drives me nuts. Anyway, I can prove it simply by owning an instrument that doesn't, or that has string through, and then owning an instrument made the same way without the string through. I have never felt, 34-year guitar player, never felt a difference. And I'm talking about feeling a difference. Yes, that's a subjective thing, but it doesn't have to be. Look, you can just chalk up anything you want to argue as being, oh, it's subjective. Yeah, sure. In this case, it is subjective because it's me. But I'm telling you by personal, real experience in playing these things that top-mounted string. Look, are you arguing by the same token that a Les Paul doesn't have sustain because it's top-mounted strings? No, I mean, it's dumb. This is the dumbest stigma. Guitar players must really, and I'm a guitar player, must really love their lucky underwear because they believe the dumbest things sometimes about some of the stuff that we do. Takes time, man. It takes time. It takes skill. It takes a whole lot of other stuff to make one of these things. But man, guitar players, man. and if you really want to get down to brass tacks, it's the blues players that are the worst. These are the most opinionated, and I'm opinionated, I'll tell you. But these are the most opinionated guys without telling you they're opinionated. They are the most opinionated folks on the planet about the way things need to be and ought to be in order to be right. And they're wrong. They're divisive. They're, saying, oh, we got to come together. No. You're being divisive. They are divisive. They are, and I'm just pointing it out because it's true. These are the most opinionated, wrong opinions too. I mean, your opinion can be wrong. And I'm not even sorry about it. It's true. Your opinion can be wrong. But they're some of the most opinionated asshats on the planet. And purist, it's got to be absolutely, like I said, that antique watch, but made in a factory in Thailand. But it's just got to be this perfect antique watch thing. Otherwise, it's not true. Dude, there are more notes than 5. Learn how to express yourself in better ways. There are other countries, there are other people have opinions, and their opinions can be it's an opinion. Everybody's got one. Like assholes, which they are. The thing is, you don't have to be an asshole about it. You just understand that there are other ways of doing things. Other ways of doing things sometimes are even better than the old ways of doing things. Some aren't, some are. A lot of them are. 20-inch radius. I mean, let's talk about, classic Leo Fender problem. The 7¼ inch radius. Anybody want to tell me that that's the most perfect radius of all time and we have to have it that way every time exactly because that's the way they did it originally? How did he do that? He went around his factory, not a guitar player, keep that in mind, and measured the radius of everybody's hand when they were in a relaxed position. This sounds like great ergonomics, right? Well, he came up with the average of 7¼ so he put a 7¼ inch radius on it, and everybody knows that it's effectively broken. You cannot bend strings on this. It will choke out almost every time because effectively this whole thing with the strings being a cone from here to here is over a cylinder that is substantially, smaller because, we're talking about radius here. A substantially smaller radius than when you start to bend the string, it's going to choke out just every time. It's effectively broken radius. So he's like, all right, I'm sorry, 9.5 now. We'll do a 9.5 inch radius. And, that's better, but you still have to have higher action in order to really bend some strings. And of course, strings back then were a lot larger. And nowadays you can get strings that are even down to 7s, for God's sakes. But, okay, I'm going to stop. I'm winding myself up. Because I've got a lot to say about it, but aside from me having a lot to say, you guys probably don't have a lot to listen. For whoever's listening to this. So I'm just going to call this day 4, Rantsville, and then, like I said, I might do some stuff, but I'm really not feeling it today, so I'm probably not going to do some stuff. Have yourself a great evening. If I do accomplish anything else, I'll link to videos because I've made other videos in the past that are unlisted as to some of the processes like fret jobs and all that kind of crap, making a nut. I'll just list to those and you guys or link to those, and you guys can see those if you want. But I'm going to go ahead and call it. Think critically about guitars and guitarists. Look at what bass players have and the advances that they've made on bass guitars, and tell me that we still have to play 1954 Fenders. Jackwagons. All of them. Be well out there, everybody. See you tomorrow. Okay, why not? So when we're talking about musubi, we're talking about essentially a 3-ingredient product. We need one thing, rice. We need 2 thing, Spam. And this is with bacon, so it's better. We need the 3rd thing, there it is, seaweed. Okay, how do we do this? Well, I'm going to assume you already know how to make rice. And if you already know how to make rice, that's great. If you don't, I'll just give you a quick brief. Take pan, take rice. Put rice in pan, wash rice out. Rinse rice at least twice. You know, if you're really hard up for time, one time. I mean, come on, it's only going to take like 30 seconds. Give me a break. So, rinse rice really, really well. Put in rice, the water that you're going to cook it in, about 1 knuckle higher than the rice. Put rice on. Cook rice for 20 minutes. Or until it's done. Lift the lid a tiny little bit towards the end of it, and keep that lid lifted to allow it to dry a little more rapidly, because we're making basically essentially sushi rice. We want it to stick together really well, and a drier rice will help you more than a wet rice. Make sure you cook it thoroughly. All right, so cook your rice. Let's talk about Spam, and let's talk about seaweed, and a couple of tips on rice whilst I'm getting a pair of scissors. Don't forget that a good method of cooking rice is, besides what we've already talked about, is to go ahead and put it on for a boil. And as soon as it starts to boil up, remove it from that heat, put it on a small burner, low heat, and just kind of let it go from there. It's almost like, bring to boil, reduce to simmer. And so you're just kind of letting the rice, kind of, and then afterwards. Real good technical terminology, right? So, anyway, let's get the Spam thing going. I got my scissors. And don't forget about halfway through the cooking process on the small burner to go ahead and turn the rice. Go ahead and get in there with a spoon, wooden or not, and turn it over. It makes for a better product towards the end. So, Spam, in this case with bacon. Good times. Spam is a marvelous thing, except for the lids. I'm not going to herald its praises. You go ahead and talk to James May about all that. So, for the Spam, squeeze a little bit. Give it a good old shove. Hello, puppy dog. The struggle's real, guys. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. There it goes. Finally! Yay. Take the tin, rinse it out with water, dry it up, and get right back to it. Because this is going to be the form for our musubi. Yes, this is the quick and dirty, low-skilled, low-down for how to do this. Now, important point about this, too, is that go ahead and throw this away. We are not trying to make Instagram quality foods. We're not making foods here that other people can shoot with a camera and go, ooh, ah, very pretty. Let me send this to all my friends. No, this is if you're hungry and want to eat musubi. Got it? Okay, so I eat this stuff about once a week just because I dig the crap out of it. It's delicious. So cut this into approximately 8 even slices. Nice and even, as best you can do. I mean, look, I'm no professional chef. Culinary was just a flash in the pan for me, but just like everybody else, I learned from YouTube. Hey, that's where this is. And television. So, for real, this is not supposed to be pretty. It's just supposed to be functional. Ow. and bloody. No, we're fine. So I just slipped off the end of that. Don't do that. All right, so once we have our pieces here, 2, 4, 6, 8. Hey, what do you know? Did it right. We're going to go ahead and move over to our pan. So, wah! All right, so we're back. Take pan, heat pan to a nice medium, maybe a little less than that. You don't need quite as much. Also, you definitely don't need this with a nonstick pan, but you can use it. A little bit of peanut oil. I like it. It's fine. If you want to mess that around with a paper towel or whatever, you can. I just kind of let it go. And just kind of spread it around a bit. So for the musubi itself, sorry, not the musubi, but the Spam, I can't wait to hear if anybody decides to talk to me about this. But look, nonstick pan. Oh God, it's a fork. What are we gonna do? Anyway, we're gonna cook Spam is what we're gonna do. So just go ahead and be cool. Take the Spam. That is a non-even slice, but you know, so sue me. And pop it in there. We're gonna fry up some Spam. And you know what else is good with fried Spam? Fried eggs, just like Mother used to make. Anyway, so you can fried eggs and Spam. Not a bad deal at all, if you ask me. You know, this is just quick, cheap. And I do emphasize, by the way, this is relatively quick, but it's certainly inexpensive. Can of Spam costs you however much a can of Spam costs. Take 1 can of Spam. Rice, I buy the 30-pound bags, 50-pound bags even, and, you know, just cook a very small, like, cup and a half full at a time. And, you know, it's inexpensive. And if you really don't like seaweed, I do strongly recommend the seaweed. You don't have to have it, and it's even less expensive that way. The seaweed will cost you $5. Again, I can make effectively 9 of these, 8 of these now, really, for the same price as 1 at L&L. So, all right. Magic of TV, while that's cooking up on one side, we're trying to brown it. Let's go cut some seaweed. So, you gotta figure, this comes in a pack of several. Right now I've got 2 left, so I can only make 6 musubi, because you've got basically 3 of these per. And I am, again, quick and dirty with this. Right there in the middle. Whoop, sorry about that.
Cut, 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 cut.
And over here, these are roughly evenly sized. All right, that is our seaweed. We're going to do this shiny side down, but we're going to set this aside for just right now. And we got to get back to our Spam. Ready? Spam! All right, so when the rice is about done, should be about done at this point, because we put this on about halfway through the rice cooking. Go ahead and stir it. Once you stir it again, lift it, prop the lid open with a spoon, and turn off the heat, set it aside. Now, we've let this cook up for a minute or so. We're going to go ahead and incorporate a little bit of our sweet soy sauce. So just going to lay it on a little bit. And what we're going to try to do is caramelize it a little bit. Take the sugars and make it happy to be alive. Turn on your fan if you have one. I certainly do. It's going to be on low because, yes, this is going to smoke a little bit. It's a fair warning, but we want it to smoke a little bit. We don't want to smoke a lot. We just want it to smoke a little bit. Just a fair warning to you that it's going to happen. And if your pan is way too hot and you get, you know, a huge amount of smoke coming out of it, your fire alarm's going to probably go off. Ask me how I know. Because we live and we learn. Yeah. Hello, old boy. It's my oldest cat. And so we don't need to do too much of that. And I do want to fry it up on both sides. So do some flipping. There we go. You don't want too much black on there, of course. I mean, that's plenty. But you do want some. Because we're trying to mimic what we see elsewheres. So I'm going to go ahead and get these guys over here because that's obviously cooking a little bit unevenly. Go ahead and turn that off. Now the fun really begins. We're going to let the residual heat cook up the rest of it. This is where the fun really
in my opinion, of course, humble as it is, begins. What you're going to need to do is have your Spam pan available. You're going to grab a scoop or two of rice, and you're going to fill it up to about here with rice, maybe a little higher. Really doesn't matter too much as long as it's not all the way up. So grab your rice, pack it in. Don't forget to spill rice all around it, otherwise you're not a real cook. So there we go, packed in there pretty well. It's not really packed in yet. That's what this next step is for. Grab one of your fried Spams, pap it in there, pap it in there, press it down, use a fork. It's okay. Tin's going to heat up quite a bit if you use the fake Spam. I've done this before. If you use fake Spam, it's going to get really hot. If you use the real stuff, it doesn't get as hot. Still pretty intolerable, but, you know, it's tolerable. Again, the seaweed, shiny side down. So this kind of looks a little shiny on the camera, but it's not. You get that in there, shiny side down, and pop it in, like so. Give it a couple of whacks, and if you're lucky, the rice comes out. Just like that. Wrap these over, and you've made a musubi. Stick that to the side, make all the rest of them, feast. The stuff's good. Have a great day, guys. And thank you. Kirk's Cooking Channel is out. Turn this upside down. Just like that. All right. Hold up.